Hidden in the desert hills on the far side of the Nile, in a silent, sun-scorched valley, lie the tombs of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. For nearly 500 years, the god-kings of the New Kingdom were laid to rest here, deep in the living rock, their burial chambers blazing with painted color and gold, their entrances sealed and disguised against the world. This is one of the most storied places on Earth, a valley of the dead watched over by a natural pyramid of stone. Welcome to the Valley of the Kings. We are on the west bank of the Nile, across the river from the city of Luxor, once the mighty capital of Thebes. Here the fertile green ribbon of the valley gives way to bare desert hills, and among those hills, in a remote basin below a towering peak, lies the Valley of the Kings. To the ancient Egyptians, the west was the land of the setting sun, the realm of the dead, and so it was here, in the shadow of the western mountains, that they chose to bury their kings. Before us opens a narrow desert valley, walled in by pale cliffs of limestone that shimmer in the heat. Almost nothing grows here. There is only rock, sand, and a great stillness broken by the wind. Yet beneath this barren ground lies a hidden city of the dead, more than 60 tombs cut deep into the stone, their doorways scattered across the valley floor and hidden in the cliffs. What looks at first like empty wilderness is in truth one of the richest burial grounds ever made. For the Egyptians, geography was destiny. The East Bank, where the sun rose, belonged to the living, to temples and palaces and the crowded life of Thebes. The West Bank, where the sun sank each evening into the earth, belonged to the dead. As the sun died in the west each night and was reborn in the east each dawn, so a pharaoh laid to rest in these western hills might follow the sun god through the underworld and rise again. This valley was chosen to be the doorway to that eternal journey. For centuries, earlier pharaohs had raised towering pyramids, vast monuments that announced to the world exactly where their treasures lay. And one by one, those pyramids were plundered. The kings of the New Kingdom learned from this. Rather than mark their graves with mountains of stone, they chose to hide them. Here, in this secluded desert valley, they cut their tombs deep and secret into the rock, hoping that concealed doorways and remote cliffs would keep their bodies and their riches safe for eternity. For roughly 5 centuries, this was the royal burial ground of Egypt. Through the 18th, 19th, and 20th dynasties, across the height of the New Kingdom, from about 1500 to 1000 years before the Common Era, king after king was carried into these hills and sealed within the rock. Generation upon generation, the valley filled with the tombs of the most powerful rulers the ancient world had ever known, a dynasty of gods on earth gathered in a single hidden place. More than 60 tombs have been found here, and the names carved upon their walls read like a roll call of legends. Here lies Seti I, whose tomb sinks deeper and more beautifully than almost any other. Here lies Rameses the Great and the long line of Ramesside kings who followed him. Here rest the pharaohs named Thutmose and Amenhotep, conquerors and builders whose reigns shaped an empire. In this one narrow valley gathered the mightiest kings of a golden age. Let us enter. From a modest doorway in the cliff, a passage leads down into the mountain. Corridor gives way to corridor and stairway to stairway, sinking ever deeper into the living rock. The air grows cool and still. Painted walls close in on either side, and the daylight fades behind us. Down and down the passage leads, past pillared halls and sealed doorways, toward the burial chamber at the heart of the tomb, where the king was meant to sleep forever. And here the darkness blazes into color. From floor to ceiling, the walls are covered in vivid painted scenes and columns of hieroglyphs, as fresh as the day they were made. These are not mere decoration. They are sacred maps and spells, funerary texts such as the Book of the Dead and the Amjuat, the Book of the Hidden Chamber. They chart the perilous journey of the king through the 12 hours of the night, past demons and gates, guiding his soul safely through the underworld toward rebirth and eternal life. And rising over the whole valley stands its silent guardian. High above the cliffs looms Al-qurn, a natural peak whose slopes taper to a near-perfect pyramid against the sky. It cannot be chance that the kings chose to lie beneath it. The pyramid had always been a sacred shape, a symbol of the mound of creation and the rays of the sun. Here nature had raised a pyramid of its own over the valley, and in its shadow, the pharaohs could rest in the old sacred form without building a single stone. Yet secrecy was never enough. Almost from the moment the tombs were sealed, they were hunted. Tomb robbers, sometimes the very workmen who had built the tombs, tunneled through the rock in search of gold. The Egyptians fought back with false passages, hidden chambers, and heavy sealed doors, and the crime of robbing a royal tomb was punished with death. But the temptation of so much buried treasure was endless. Despite every precaution, in time, nearly all of these tombs were broken into and stripped of their riches. As the robberies grew worse, the priests of a later age took desperate action to protect their kings. Under cover of secrecy, they gathered up the plundered royal mummies, the bodies of the greatest pharaohs of Egypt, and moved them from their violated tombs. They rewrapped them, labeled them, and hid them together in secret caches, deep in the cliffs and in a single crowded tomb. There the god kings lay forgotten for nearly 3,000 years, hidden away from the robbers who had emptied their golden houses. For all the plundering, the valley kept one last secret. In the year 1922, after years of fruitless searching, the archaeologist Howard Carter uncovered a buried staircase beneath the rubble. It led down to a sealed doorway stamped with ancient seals, still unbroken. Behind it lay the tomb of a little-known young king, Tutankhamun. When Carter made a small breach and held up a candle and was asked whether he could see anything, he answered with words that would echo around the world. Yes, he said, wonderful things. And wonderful they were. Alone among the royal tombs, that of Tutankhamun had escaped the robbers nearly intact. Chamber after chamber lay crammed with treasure, gilded shrines and chariots, statues and jewels, and at the heart of it all a nest of golden coffins holding the king himself, his face covered by a mask of solid gold. It was one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever made, and it gave the world its first full glimpse of the staggering wealth that had once filled every tomb in this valley. Today the treasures are gone from the hills, carried off to museums or lost to ancient thieves, and the kings themselves lie elsewhere. Yet the valley endures. The painted corridors still descend into the rock, the hieroglyphs still glow upon the walls, and Al-qurn still keeps its watch over the silent desert. Standing here, in the stillness between the cliffs, it is easy to feel the weight of 3,000 years, and to sense the presence of the god kings who chose this quiet valley as their gateway to eternity. A hidden valley of god kings, painted tombs sunk deep in the rock, and a pyramid peak standing guard over the land of the setting sun. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.